Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I believe that by now, everybody who was in the waiting room should be admitted to the event, and it's possible that some additional people may join us as we go. But as we only have an hour and a half this afternoon, I'd like to get started. So first of all, let me welcome everybody to the IW Investing in Women Knowledge Lab session, Stories from the Front Line, Advancing Workplace Gender Equality in Indonesia, Myanmar, the Philippines and Vietnam. My name is Kathy Mulville and I'm the Director of Business Partnerships at Investing in Women. In our session today, we plan to share case studies from companies who we partner with as part of our program, who are actively committed to advancing gender equality within their companies. I've asked the presenters to focus on the drivers for them making this commitment to workplace gender equality and to outline the concrete actions that they undertook. We want this session to be informative and helpful for people, and we know that identifying and introducing strategies to advance workplace gender equality, or WGE as a shorthand, which is appropriate to the local culture, can be challenging. And so it's really important that companies who are actively engaged on this journey can share their experiences of what works and the issues they face. So we thank ADB for allowing us to participate in the Gender Forum and to undertake this knowledge lab this afternoon. So if we can go to the next slide, please. We have four presentations today, and then we have a Q&A at the end. Let me just hang on. I think we might have a slight technical problem. Are the slides not working? Maybe our technical assistant could help us. We seem to not be able to advance our slides at the moment. Can you try again, Joe? Okay. Can you advance the slide now, Joe? If you just bear with us. Is that, it's not working? No, okay, all right. Okay, whilst I think we have somebody at our end and hopefully somebody at the ADB end who can help us with this problem. While we're waiting, let me just explain the format for this afternoon. We have four presentations, and the presentations are going to be given by a mix of company representatives and WGE technical experts from our business coalitions. I think we now may have these slides up. Is that right? Okie dokie. So each of the presenters will present for 15 minutes, and then we will have a Q&A at the end. There are some housekeeping reminders. Your mics will be on mute for the duration of the presentations. We have a chat box function, and what we want to encourage is that you post your questions in the chat box as they as the presenters are speaking. We're not going to stop after each presenter. At the end, we'll bring the questions together at that point, and hopefully have a short discussion at that point. Okay. Right, so let me just, before we start, just explain a little bit about Investing in Women, or IW. It's an initiative of the Australian government, and we use innovative approaches to improve women's economic empowerment. We do that by working to improve women's workforce participation and improve their progression into leadership within formal workplaces. But we also work to increase the availability of capital for women-led and women-owned businesses. And thirdly, we work to influence gender norms that limit women's advancements, both as employees and entrepreneurs. IW created coalitions of leading businesses in the 4 countries where we work. These coalitions comprise of leading companies who have committed to advance workplace gender equality, both within their businesses and the wider business community. Coalition members are supported in these endeavours by technical experts from the business coalitions. They've developed a deep understanding of the drivers and barriers to gender equality at work in each country, and they provide a range of tools to help companies assess their performance and introduce strategies appropriate to the local context. The 4 companies that we'll learn about today are all coalition members. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. And as I said, we've got a mix of technical and company experience to share with you. We're privileged to have company representatives, E. Thandahang from KBZ Bank in Myanmar, and Marianol Tuiza Ibrahim from the Philippines National Bank. We also have 2 technical experts, Nisma Fadila from Indonesia and Quan Vo from Vietnam. We're now going to start with Nisma from Indonesia. So at this point, Nisma, I'll hand over to you to take us through the first presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Katie. Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you are all doing well today. It's a pleasure to be here sharing and learning about workplace gender equality practice. On behalf of a member of IBCW, Tira Austenite, I'm going to present their best practice in promotion of women leadership and what we've done during the process. Okay, next, please. Okay, it's just a brief background about the company. Next, Tira Austenite. Next slide, please. Okay, Tira Austenite is an Indonesian national company founded in 1974 and publicly listed in 1993. Operates in 3 main divisions. First, in steel trading. Second, in industrial gases services, and the third is manufacturing. The manufacturing sites in different cities in Java and Sulawesi island of Indonesia. By now, Tira Austenite is a male-dominated industry. As per 2020, there are total 410 employees with 12 female managers. Next, please. Okay, next. During the process, there are some opportunities in Tira related to the WGE practice. Tira Austenite's policies are non-discriminative in accordance with the labor law. However, social norms and practice of favoring male candidates for this traditional male sector resulted in low number of male employees. And in 2017, Tira Austenite struggled to fill vacant positions as they were short of male candidates for managers. And this led to the promotion of 5 female leaders including head of logistics and supply chain in gas division and 2 branch managers positions traditionally held by male employees. So they encouraged by its holding company, Syntesa Group, as a founding member of IBCW. Tira Austernet took H certification and were exposed to new concepts and standards related to WGE policy and practices. And this triggered an awareness of the importance of WGE and the potential of female talent in the workforce to contribute to business results. Next slide, please. And we are going to introduce the WGE journey at Tira Austernet. Next slide. It's about the milestone of the WGE. Tira Austernet start in 2017. Let's follow up on the process of the H recommendation by strengthening the existing SOPs, particularly, and through 2 years in 2018 until 2019 after the H certification, Tira Austernet has already revised the 4 SOPs on recruitment and selection. Second, career management. The third is equal pay for equivalent work, and the fourth is training and development. By then, they improve in some approach related to the training and development. Tira Austernet received 2 trainings as part of IBCW member service package. First in gender bias training, and the second is sexual harassment training. Tira Austernet also participated in Women in STEM training for facilitator provided by ILO in February 2019. And later the company follow up with the similar in-house session with its 3 newly trained facilitators. It's designed to primarily target women. The company aimed to examine and observe future female leaders, and the positive turns out around 90–60% participants were satisfied with this training and confident to apply the knowledge in their day-to-day work. As Tira Austernet also promoted more women to leadership position in 2018, the company has paid more attention on gender disaggregate performance data. And according to the 2020 sales report, there are female branch managers that rank 3rd and 4th biggest sales for industrial gas and services divisions, regardless of the disproportionate number of staff. This data enables Tira Austernet to map out and conduct early identification of potential female leaders. Next, please. What we've done to support Tira Austernet to achieve these positions, that's IBCW. Next, please. IBCW has some services here. First is guided and accompanied Tira Austernet from the beginning of H certifications, the preparation of the data submission and to the action plan, and select the recommendation and action plan as a prioritization. And second is assisted and supervised the SOP revisions until its finalization, and also monitor the implementations. And IBCW also provided training and connected Tira Austernet to the external training opportunities, including Women in STEM by ILO, which adopted regularly as a TOT as an in-house training program in Tira. And by now, Tira also actively involved in social gathering with other WGE implementing companies, resulting in best practice exchange. Okay, next, please. Now, with this best practice, we also gather some perspective of the stakeholders. Next, we can see the perspective of the company and also the employees. By the company, showed that first, the most important of the WG practice is gender awareness at managerial level is more evidence. That's the traditional stereotype that women are unable to work in male-dominated industry no longer exists. That's the first. And the second, women are as competitive as men. That means when being challenged, women are able to demonstrate good performance, and some female employees succeeded in switching from cost center to profit center division. And the last, female leaders bring fresh idea and approach. It's become a diverse. When female leaders have qualities that are distinct to men and different approach to problem solving, flexible communication skills, and yet assertive. And how about the perspective on employee perspective? We disaggregate by gender as well. But next please. Oh yeah, female leaders perspective. We can see that the female leaders perspective reflect that the women have an equal and fair opportunity to develop professionally, and employees are assessed mainly based on their competence, and women are better at time management, where women are able to manage time performing work while at the same time taking care of domestic roles. And the third, important to pass down knowledge to younger colleagues when they believe that younger female colleagues are equipped with good management skills to balance and domestic roles as well as mental readiness to work in male-dominated sectors. And the last, for male employees perspective, next. It's related to their perspectives revealed that female leaders show quality of leadership and determinations, where female leaders show tenacity and determination, better empathy, fighting spirits, which are qualified that evidently are beneficial. And they believe also they can work together with the better communication. Continuous communication is the key, where they can solve any problem and they found no difficulties to coordinate as long as communication is maintained. Next, before the last, regarding to the promoting woman leadership, we can see some influencing factors here. Next. There are two influencing factors. First, leadership, and the second is use of data monitoring. First, leadership from top management and HR, related to the support and encouragement from the CEO of funding member of IBCW as a parent of company. Here is Syntesa Group. And to mainstream WGE-related practice into its subsidiaries, including Tira Austenate. And the second, Director of Tira Austenate endorsed promotion, development, and engagement of female employees, including organization of the Women in STEM training series. And the third is at HR level, where they having a background and history working with female leaders, which partly contribute to rising interest to explore female employees' potentials and promoting equality. And regarding to the use of data monitoring, the leadership and HR team have an increased appreciation for performance measurement data in highlighting the potential of women leaders, which had been previously overlooked. And the second is the data collected includes both quantifiable and non-quantifiable data. The quantifiable data includes sales and or business output, while the non-quantifiable data is the observation of the soft skills from coaching session and etc. I think that's the concludes my sharing today about practice in promoting women leadership at Tira Austernet of Indonesia. Thank you. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you very much, Nisma. Thank you. And I encourage people that if they have questions from Nisma's presentation, if you can put them in the chat box and we will return to them later, whether it's you want clarity on something maybe that Nisma introduced, or that you have a follow-up question about some of the work that they did. Okay, we're now going to turn to our next speaker. From KBZ Bank in Myanmar. We're very pleased to have Ethan Hang joining us. So over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I would first like to thank ADB, Investing in Women, and BCG, that's our Business Coalition for Gender Equality in Myanmar, for inviting us to the forum to talk about WGDI journey in KBZ Bank of Myanmar. So my name is Ethan Da. I am currently heading learning and development team in human resource, and I'm also taking care of the virtual branch value center in the bank. Thank you. Next slide, please. So in terms of the driver for our company to focus on WGE is on, gender equality and equity conversation has started when Myanmar opening up in 2011. And then there were conversations in the forums across 2014 to 2017 in the private sector, public sector, and also in an NGO as well. So with the establishment of BCGE in Myanmar in the private sector, we are changing those conversations into implementations and actions with even assessments and training. And, it's been possible throughout this year just because we have a very highly committed board members, senior leadership, and, ensuring that we're setting a mission to build a diverse talent pipeline and also diverse decision maker in the workplace. We also do understand that there is an importance of leading by example, and as one of the biggest and largest employers in Myanmar, we understood that we play a critical role in ensuring that other peers in the private sector help plan, execute, and materialize their WGDI agenda in the workplace as well. Next slide, please. So what has been happening in the KBZ Bank in terms of the WGE agenda is we have been advocate in the private sector. Since 2014, we have partnered with a Women's Forum in ASEAN meeting in Yangon and Naypyidaw, which is in Myanmar. And in 2017, in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Welfare and Yangon regional government, we have also hosted a Women's Week in Myanmar. So the highlights has been, women in business panel with a state councillor. There are edutainments, there are workshops, there are, enabling and empowering sports activities happen during the event. And also basically this is to increase the awareness to remove the barriers in the workplace. So even there has been a pledge by the participants in Women's Empowerment Principle. So that's happened in 2017, and we are also founding and board member of Business Coalition for Gender Equality in Myanmar since 2017. So as you all know, BCG has been assisting businesses in creating inclusive workplace policies and equal opportunities across the genders, and also serve as a center of excellence to local businesses in our RWG journey. So there are also activities around certifications and assessment on the WGE standards as well. Next, please. So basically, what we have been doing for gender equality within our workplace in KBZ Bank is not just, we don't treat gender equality as just part of the CSR activities, but it has been part of our business priority. So we make sure that this has been part of our business priority by pledging to a global community, CEO community, revolutionizing the disability inclusion, which is called a Valuable 500 campaign, where our CEO has pledged in commitments to the inclusivity of the disability employees, which happens last year. And also we have also set our strategic visions around WGEDI initiatives, and also we ensure that WGEDI agenda is being part of our main and core values on loving kindness, perseverance, and courage as well. So this has been part of our business priority. And secondly, with the help from BCGE, we have been able to review our existing policies and to ensure that non-discrimination policy has been looked at holistically to ensure that we're not discriminating against race or ethnicity or age or gender, religion, sexual orientation, or disability, right? So, with the help of BCG, we've been able to review and be able to communicate this policy across the bank. And also, in terms of the trainings and educations, we have been able to do the train the trainer programs for our trainers to be able to train not just on the headquarters, but also across 500 bank branches across nationwide on gender, diversity, and inclusion, initiated by the L&D department, but also with, of course, with the help of the external service provider and training expertise like BCG as well. So there are also cultural sensitivity in the workplace training, which is happening for the managerial levels in the HR department as well. So we have also adopted BCG's intensive care support program, where we looked at our WGEDI journey roadmap and make sure that we have all the support and policies in place within the bank as well. And just to touch on the childcare policy, where we are providing our employees with paid maternity and paternity leave for all the new parents. And there are also additional 2 hours of breastfeeding time off for new moms until their babies turn 6 months old. And also we have reviewed and updated our maternity leave benefits to basically include the miscarriage and pregnancy related issues. This is also in accordance with the Myanmar labor law as well. Next slide, please. So this has been our progress and achievement from 2017 to present. So in terms of the gender composition, we have started off with 53% of female in 2017 in the workforce to 55% in 2021. So there has been improvement around female workforce in the system. And also 63.1% of our managerial rank employees are female as well. So these are the data collected from assistant managers and above levels. And there are also male-dominated stereotypical roles like software engineering and technology team. So we ensure that we are developing and we are providing the same and equal talent development program for our female employees, and to ensure that we are building talent pipeline for these, female employees, to ensure that we are also having more leadership roles, has the female inclusion as well. So on the BCG and D&I assessment score, we have managed to increase from 2.6 to 4.4. This is based on the BCG learning assessment framework, which was a series of training that happened in the bank for the trainers, basically for a train the trainer session, and also it has been it has been trained at the branches across nationwide as well. So the outcome of the training has been, coming out with the commitment to action plans, 72 plans at, as at the organizational level as well as the individual level, in order for our D&I scoring, the D&I agenda to be committed at the operational, recruitment, and decision-making levels as well. So we have also been keeping a very well-balanced kind of like employee retention rate for the female employees as well. So, so this has been happening. And also for the recognition and commitment part of it, we have been EDGE certified from 2018 to 2020, which lasted for 2 years. So we are currently in the midst of recertificating ourselves for the EDGE certification as well. So just like I have mentioned earlier, with the CEO commitments to the Valuable 500, we are also working towards disability inclusion at the workplace as well. So next, please. So with the support from BCGE and also with help from the local hospital, our WGDI agenda and initiatives has not stopped through the pandemic. In fact, we have moved our initiative and support for our employees to more towards online and hybrid activities in COVID-19 pandemic as well. So with the help of the doctors from the local hospitals, local private hospitals, we have been able to host our virtual workshop and webinars around the healthcare topics like nutrition and immunity. How should they be taking care of themselves during the pandemic, and also what is the global trend look like for 2019 or for COVID-19, and also for public health guidance, and especially even specialized webinars like supporting mothers in their breastfeeding journey and also caregiving to their infants during the pandemic was very important as well. So we have hosted a series of workshops and webinars around that. And we have also participated in the BCG's webinars on around the remote workplace, because everyone has been virtually working during the pandemic, and also on the flexi hours and also inclusive leadership during the COVID pandemic, so that people don't feel left out. So this has been looked at. And also as a support for our female employees and vulnerable group of employees, we have also ensured that people are able to work from home. The arrangement has been done properly so that women in their first trimester of pregnancies are able to work from home even after the childbirth, even after they have taken their maternity leave. Up to 12 weeks, they are able to work from home so that they can continue to work within the environment, within the safe environment of their home as well. So yeah, next please. So basically that concludes what has been what we have wanted to cover in this forum. So I just would like to re-highlight that as a bank, we have been in a journey for gender diversity platform, and we are very glad to be working together with BCG in implementation and taking conversations into actions for the advancements of women in Myanmar. And we look forward to more leadership as our female involvement going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation. Very interesting also to hear about the COVID-19 adaptations and that you introduced to your program. And maybe later on we might get the opportunity to ask you a little bit more about how those initiatives, how successful those initiatives were. We're now swiftly moving on to our third presentation, which is from the Philippine National Bank. And Mary Noel Tuiza Abraham is our presenter from the Philippines. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. A pleasant afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Attorney Marinol Kapili H. Ibrahim, and I'm here to actually discuss with you the initiatives and policies of Philippine National Bank insofar as addressing the issues of sexual harassment cases. But before we delve into the discussion proper, allow me first to introduce to you my employer, the Philippine National Bank. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right. The Philippine National Bank is the first universal bank and one of the largest privately owned Philippine commercial banks. And in fact, Philippine National Bank is one of the market leaders in banking industry insofar as not just in domestic sphere, but also international as well. And in fact, there are 70 offices in various countries, and the Philippine National Bank, as we have often said, we are where we are today because of the hard work of more than 8,000 employees. Next slide, please. All right. So apart from being the partner of Filipinos in terms of financial matters, allow me first to introduce who is PNB as an employer. Of course, I'm very proud to share with you that the Philippine National Bank has been named by LinkedIn as one, or rather as the top employer companies where professionals can really grow their career, can really advance their dreams. And also, with our commitment to gender equality, we were also awarded, the Philippine National Bank was awarded by Asia Money as one of the leaders for women in 2021. And because of the pandemic, we know that we have been still battling with pandemic. We were also cited as the best managed bank in the Philippines during COVID-19. That was in 2020. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I'll just be giving you inputs in so far as how the PNB collaborated or made a coalition in so far as the gender equality efforts with the PBCW and EDGE. It started in 2019. In fact, I'm again proud to say that PNB became the first universal bank to join PBCW. And also in 2020, through the rigorous, tedious process of being accredited, EDGE accredited, we were the first Philippine bank to be certified as gender equal. And from then on, there's been an improvement on policies and principles fully guided by EDGE and PBCW through their relentless recommendations. And in 2021, we are also the first local universal bank in the country to sign the UN Women Empowerment Principles in March 2021. So it's very, it's a good journey so far in terms of gender equality. And of course, at this moment, we are still continuing in terms of collaboration with the PBCW, including, of course, documenting the employees' actual experiences through WGE case studies. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, I'll go now to the main topic, the main discussion proper. This is the Philippine National Bank journey in addressing workplace sexual harassment. Next slide. So what is really the rationale or the philosophy behind the policy and program of the Philippine National Bank? I guess there were really so many challenges insofar far as addressing this concern. In the Philippines, there has been the study that 1 in 7 women experience sexual harassment at least once every week. And in fact, the sexual harassment cases have always been prevalent. But sadly, it's not really being reported. Why? Fear of the victims insofar as possible reprisal and retaliation of the offender. So they better sit in the corner, keep their mouth shut, and be silent forever. So that's always been the challenge in PNB, also of PNB, insofar as addressing the sexual harassment cases. Now, consistent with the mandate of the fundamental law of the land in the Philippines, which is the 1987 Constitution, there is this particular provision that requires all employers to provide and ensure a safe and respectful working environment for the employees. And that has always been the commitment of PNB to provide such. And in fact, we have adopted a lot of policies to clear any misconceptions about sexual harassment at the workplace, and the hesitation and apprehension of the victims insofar as reporting the same to the authority or to the management. Next slide, please. So we in the Philippine National Bank stand really as the company that has a zero tolerance against sexual harassment. There is this strong call and mandate that no to sexual harassment. And what are these strategies and policies insofar as the sexual harassment cases are concerned? We have three actually. Number one, there is this what we call establishing parameters. This is defining what is acceptable and what is not, what is hostile and what is not. And in fact, this can be evident through the policies crafted by the PNP, following, of course, with the anti-sexual harassment law of 1995, or the RA 7877. What else? We also provided, through the creation or the revision of our existing whistleblower policy, to embed in the culture of each Philna banker the speak-up culture. We also made it a point that the reporting channels should be more accessible, more strong in inspiring these victims to blow the whistle, to speak up. So we have what we call the whistleblower hotline, which I myself is I myself receiving the calls and text messages from the possible victims. And also we have established whistleblower email ad exclusively dedicated or allotted for those whistleblower, especially the victims of sexual harassment. And furthermore, apart from establishing parameters, we need to have a massive information. We have to raise awareness in terms of the employees, that they are protected, that they are being cared for. How? By incorporating policy and employees orientations. During the new onboard orientations of the new employees, we make it a point that there is a particular part wherein we can actually share about the policies of sexual harassment. Also, we incorporated in the meetings, in the other trainings, which can be really of great help to the employees. Also, we reiterate the zero tolerance through email and intranet. We have the email blast in terms of the sexual harassment cases should be taken, be remedied as much as or expeditiously and judiciously. So there's always this email blast, and also cascading massively to the employees through huddles or formal, informal meetings, because through those gatherings, we can really achieve full dissemination of information about sexual harassment. And last but not the least, of course, we formed a dedicated committee. We call it Committee on Decorum and Investigation. And this one actually and exclusively hear cases of sexual harassment. And in fact, the members are very committed. The members are very vigorous and vigilant insofar as protecting the rights, not just only by the rights of the offended party, but also the offender. So there is what we call strict compliance with the due process. Next slide, please. Okay, so I would just like to share with you the significant outputs or outcomes of our journey, our battle to really end sexual harassment in our company, to cultivate a safe and gender-sensitive work environment. Well, 100%, I am very happy to and proud to share with you that out of the 7 sexual harassment cases that came to our jurisdiction, 100% have been decided judiciously and expeditiously and fairly. And also, we gain confidence and trust in terms of the policy, and even encourages the management does not only confine to the women complainants. If there are male offended parties, come out, blow the whistle, and the bank will help you. And this inspiration, this particular rather confidence and trust inspire us to, to work harder, because of, we know that it is our help, and only through this blowing the whistle can we actually help the suffering of the silent victims. And last but not the least, again, the victims feel relieved after airing their sides, and when these cases are addressed promptly and expeditiously. I would like just to share one case wherein the employees actually cried profusely in front of us, the Code and Decorum Investigation, and in fact confessed that she was contemplating already to commit suicide because nobody helps her. Nobody even tried to reach out to her. And only this whistleblower policy and this anti-sexual harassment policy gave them inspiration to talk and to be given help. And that is something that we are really proud as part of the Philippine National Bank. Next slide. I would like to share with you, this is actually a portion of the interview when we've had a case study, that sexual harassment may seem trivial, but it goes against the very dignity of men and women. Why trivial? Because as of this time, there are still people who think that sexual harassment is just a joke. It's not, it's a petty. You should not give any serious care at all to the sexual harassment. But they don't know that the effect of sexual harassment is very profound, from being uncomfortable in the workplace up to being up to having a devastating feeling. So, and it boils down to one point. It goes against the very dignity of men and women. Thank you very much for listening to me. And I do hope that you learn something from us. Maraming salamat po, and God bless all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Noel. Can I just ask one quick question, because it's a factual question that someone has posted here.
Yes.
The time period for the 7 cases that you talk about, how long was the period of those 7 cases? Over 1 year, over 6 months, over?
Well, ideally, there's a mandate, Kathy, in terms of 10-day period, but depends on the gravity of cases and the voluminous records that we need to review. But in terms of the period, it does not last within a month or 2. That's already an achievement in terms of deciding issues, especially if there are many complainants and the issues are quite complicated. And that's something to be proud of. It's a month or 2. That's the way we decided. So it's expeditious, judicious, and fair. Thank you.
So the actual process you try and complete within 1 to 2 months. That right? I think
Yes.
the question was you referred to that you had 7 cases.
Yes.
And that they were all successfully resolved.
Yes.
Was that 7 cases in 1 year? In 1 month?
No,
we
received, yes. It started, we have 1 in 2018, we have 2 in 2019, and we have 4 in 2020, and we have 3 in 2020, and we have 1 now in 2021.
Okay, thank you. That was just one of the factual questions, and I thought we could maybe respond to that straight away. Okay, thank you so much. Now, We are now getting
Thank you
some.
much.
Thank you for your presentation. We are getting some questions in the chat box, but I would really encourage other people to ask their questions so that we can line them up for our discussion on Q&A at the end. Now we're going to turn to our fourth example from Vietnam. We have Quan Vo, who is going to present for us. She's from the Vietnamese Business Coalition for Women's Empowerment. So Quan, if you'd like to start, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. It is my honor today to represent Vietnam Business Coalition for Women Empowerment, VBCW, the last our 4 business coalition under investing in women, to share with you about how VBCW have been working with Power Generation Joint Stock Corporation 3, EVN Genco 3, in flexible work arrangement projects. Next slide, please. So my presentation today will cover 4 main parts. First of all is a brief introduction about the companies and key drivers to workplace gender equalities. The main part will be how VBCW and EVN Genco 3 have been working so far on the flexible work arrangement projects. And lastly is some sharing about challenges that we have faced in the pilot periods, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. So Power Generation Joint Stock Corporation 3, EVN Genco 3, were established in 2013. It is a wholly state-owned company which specializes in electricity production and trading, electric power engineering. So it got the total workforce of 2,700 staff, in which the female staff account for only 18%. So if you look at the number, and you might find it not a significant numbers, but if you think again about the electricity industry, which is a very technical industry, we have to admit to share that 18% represent, I think the female workforce is a remarkable achievement of EVN Genco 3. We're comparing with those beer who work in the same industry, where the figure is just less than 10%. And at EVN Genco 3, the company's management always thriving to achieve the gender equality at the workplace. And the companies had achieved the EDGE certificate, which stands for Economic Dividends for Gender Equalities in 2020. That is one of the leading global assessment methodologies and the business certificate standards for the corporations. Next slide, please. So EVN Genco 3 is an exclusive industry in Vietnam. So it got a noble mission to ensure the energy security of the national power system. So in order to achieve this goal, EVN Genco 3 employee is the key to the success. So more than ever, EVN Genco 3 management team understand that employee engagement is the strategic business which will lead to the long-term employee retention, higher level of productivities, and improved quality of work. So VBCW has the privilege to assist EVN Genco 3 to achieve the EDGE certificate. So from the EDGE report, there was a demand from staff for flexible work policies. So it happened before the COVID-19 really hit Vietnam severely. So therefore, VBCW has continued our support to EVN Genco 3 to start a project called Flexible Work Agreement, with the ultimate goal to make Genco 3 the best place to work, where professional and personal responsibilities are well balanced. Next slide, please. So our projects will have 4 stages. As you can see on the screen, the first stage will be analyzed. Next will be the strategy design and implement and monitor. And the last stage will be effectiveness review. So what makes this project special comparing to other common policy building process? So it's on comebacks to the reason that we deploy this project together with EVN Genco 3. We want to create a policy for the staff. So we use different approaches to ensure that the policies were built for the staff, not just from the policymakers' point of view. So in the first stage, as you can see, that we use the group discussion and in-depth interview. So we can collect the feedback from different kind of level of responsibilities across the organizations. And we also conducted the mass staff survey just to test the perception of the staff of EVN Genco 3 in terms of how they understand about the flexible work arrangement. Is there any preference that they prefer, or is there any difficulties that during the time that they have to apply for the ad hoc leave, they have to encounter? And lastly, you can see the word pilot group and the comparison group. What does it mean by comparison group? So because for this project, we will choose a pilot group, and then we will decide a comparison group. So the comparison group is the group will maintain the normal operation without the flexible work policies. So the purpose is to compare the productivities of the comparison group against the pilot group, so that we can test whether this project really bring out the efficiencies in terms of productivities, in terms of the employee satisfaction for EVN Genco 3. So we come to the second stage after we analyze all of the inputs from the employees. So we will start with the policy drafting, and then we will conduct the training and communication. So the purpose of the training and communication is that we have to ensure different levels of responsibilities of the staff within the organization are well received and well explained of all of the flexible work options that we prepare in the policies. So we have to ensure everybody will be on the same page, especially for those who work in the very technical areas, as you recall that EVN Genco 3 work in the electricity industries. And then we will move to the third stage called implementation and monitoring, where we really monitor like the utilization ratios of the actual staff, really applying those options that we provided to them. So after the implementation period, we will start to measure the productivities, which is one of the set of the key indicators that we arrange, that we agree with the EVN Genco 3 top management from the analyze stage. And one of the key things that we want to highlight during this final stage is that we also collect the feedback from the staff and the line managers during the implementation phase, so that we can see the area for improvement, or if we can test whether one of the option is that applicable for them or not. And we will run again the survey, the staff survey, to see whether the training or the communication that we have run, is that efficient enough, is that productive enough for the staff, or is there any changes in the staff perceptions in terms of flexible works arrangement. Next slide, please. So in the next slide, I share with you the organizational chart of EVN Genco 3. As you can see on the top, it is the Vietnamese government, and then the group of Vietnam Electricity, which based in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, in the north. And EVN Genco 3 is based in Ho Chi Minh City in the south. So under EVN Genco 3, we got different dependent members, we got different subsidiary and affiliates. So all of the entities that you can see with the orange mark, that's those entities that participating in the flexible works arrangements. So we have Phu My Thermal Power Company, we have Phung Kep Hydro Power Company, we have EVN Genco 3 Power Service Company, and lastly we have Paris Thermal Power Joint Stock Company. So the coloring legends you can see on the slide is that we want to highlight the reason that we chose different entities based on different natures of the business is that, as you recall, in the 4 stages process, in the second stage, we have the policy drafting. So in that policies, we have to propose different flexible work options for the staff. And the staff here, that I mean that we have to look at the staff from different entities. We have to look at the natures of the work that they do. We have to look at the working shifts. We have to look at different types of the group of the people that we're going to propose the solutions to ensure that all the options that we propose going to be applicable for them. For the office staff, we propose remote work, we propose flexible time and compressed hours. So when we conduct the flexible work arrangement project for EVN Genco 3, we can see that it's a very common issue that not just only at the company, but also at some other entities in Vietnam. When we talk about flexible works, they always think about, work at home, work remotely. But the answer is no, you got different kind of options that you can leverage. For example, you can have flexible time, which means you can have flexible starting time, or you can have flexible ending time, or you can have compressed hour. And the most difficult part of the project is that when we have to think of the solutions for those technical staff, which are the power generations and then the maintenance staff. So we cannot apply remote working, right? We cannot apply the compressed hour because they have to ensure all of the machines have to go in well within the working shifts that they were assigned. So all of the options you can see here is that after a lot of discussion, a lot of interview, and then we come to finalize such solutions which are tailor-made for those staff. So, story short, what the key message that you can gain from this slide is that when you really want to build a flexible work policies, you have to bear in mind that you are targeting at different kind of group of staff. So the options, the solution that we provided have to be categorized to fit with their business characteristic. Next slide, please. So during the time that we have been implemented the policies, we have encountered some challenges, and we have helped the company to identify the challenges, and then we provided the training and we provided the solution during the communication scheme. So we divided into 4 things. First of all is all of the issue that you usually encounter, like the connection and the technologies, which we have earlier during the sections. So we have to equip the staff of such common issue going to be happen, and then if that happens to them, then what kind of solution they can leverage? Like if the connection is not good, and then you can turn on your 3G hotspot and then you can use it, or you can go to another place, or you can have some alternative solution provided by the companies. And then the second challenge is that we usually have, which is very important, is that the perception of the line managers. They still prefer to see the staff in presence at the company so that they can consider that the staff are working rather than the staff working at home. They are not out, they are outside, and then you cannot show whether your staff is working. So we're trying to shape, we're trying to change the mindset, like the productivity is going to be monitored through the KPIs rather than the presence at the workplace. And in order to help to increase the effectiveness of the program, we suggest to provide different kind of trainings cover the time management. If you work at home, if you work remotely, and then you have to manage your time carefully so that it won't be conflicted to the schedule of your colleagues working at the workplace, or if you have to you have to take care of your baby at home as well, how you can arrange it with your family members just to ensure no interruption to all of your important meetings. And also like some training, some soft skill training, like how to prepare for mental breakdown when the staff had to stay at home, usually under full lockdown, stay for 6 months straight. So such training is very crucial. And lastly is the confidentialities that the companies have to ensure that the staff understanding of how to protect the very valuable assets of the company when they work remotely, when they are not at the workplace. So there are 4 common challenges that we encounter during the periods. Next slide, please. So how the COVID-19 had impacted our projects. So in the bad things, there are always good things happen. So the positive thing is that with the COVID-19 had helped to make the flexible work arrangement from a temporary solution to a permanent solution. So in the past, when we approached the company, they said that, okay, we will apply it for a short time period. But now, thanks to COVID-19, when people are so familiar with the flexible work arrangement, and then we have to build it as one permanent solution to bring the effectiveness for the companies. And how about the negative things? Because of the COVID-19, so the menu of the flexible work arrangement that we propose, the companies, the employees, they cannot utilize 100%. For example, if under full lockdown, you have to stay at home and you cannot apply the flexible time, or you cannot apply the compressed hours. And then the time that we implement the projects is got extended. So at first we planned for only 6 months, but now it's got extended to like 10 months. And finally, it's very hard for staff to utilize under lockdown, and the training and the communication is also have the problem. Just to ensure that the key message is delivered to the staff. Next slide, please. So that's the end of my sharing today. So I hope that you find something new for you and your companies. If you've got any interesting story to share, please leave the message on our Facebook or our Instagram. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kwan. That was really interesting. And it'll be, I think, as we look forward to sort of we hope the recovery period and a way out of COVID, it'll be very interesting to see how these flexible work policies continue to be implemented at EVN and potentially maybe extended to other parts of their subsidiary. Now, thank you for posting your questions. We have a number here, and I'm going to start off by taking one question for each of the presenters, and then if we have time, then we'll come back and do a second round. So the first question is for Mr. Handa from KBZ, and it's about your maternity and paternity leave. How does KBZ see the policies supporting workplace gender equality? And maybe, and I think there's a follow-up, can you share more about it? Maybe the challenges of introducing those policies, maybe strategies that have helped? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Katie. So basically, to take on this question, I would like to say that in terms of the policies that we have implemented, we have gotten a very high level of support from management, which is very important as well. Making sure that these policies are being implemented and being adhered to at all points as well. And in terms of the maternity and paternity leave that I mentioned earlier, I think that's the benefits that we have been given to our employees. And every childbirth is actually not easy, and I think both father and mother play a very important role and equal responsibility in terms of taking care of the family as well. So just like how we are giving maternity leave, we are also providing paternity leave for our male employees whose wife is going through the childbirth as well. And I think I would like to answer this in an angle that with the combination of the maternity and paternity leave, as well as our 2 hours of breastfeeding policies, we have been able to see the improvement in the employee engagement, in a sense that mothers are not being pressured to quit their job after their childbirth, because it's very common in the country to say that, okay, I have a child now, I have to take care of my family. I would rather leave the job and let my husband take care of the financial part of the family. So I think having that additional breastfeeding time off policy, I think mothers are more sticky towards, their commitment at the company as well, and with the support from their direct managers, they are able to make full use of the breastfeeding policy and be committed towards achieving goals in the corporate world as well, without having to quit their job. So and also we make sure that people are able to work from home as effectively as they are in the office. We make sure that we are supporting them with the costing that they will have to bear for their internet usage, and also technology and devices that are needed to perform their job role. They are also all provided so that they can continue to work even during the COVID-19 period, right? So in terms of the evaluation on the effectiveness of the policies, I think in terms of facts and figures, we are still yet to go ahead and evaluate it because of the the political situation that has been happening in the country as well. So, but then we look forward to having more effective evaluation going forward as well. Yeah.
Can I just ask a follow-up question? How
Sure.
did you? Was there any resistance for the male employees to take advantage of the paternity leave? I know that, that I've heard it in some companies, there's a culture that men, shouldn't take their leave. And I just wonder, what was the experience of KBZ in the take up by men?
So we have personally in the HR perspective, I do not see such incidents sticking out at this point. But I do see where you're coming from, but I think that fathers, basically, they also take a very important role in taking care of the newborn child, and the mother just gave them birth as well. So I think they should make the full use of the benefits. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to turn to Nisma now. This was a question which was really about the assessments, the assessment tools that you used with TIRA. What kind of data were you collecting in your assessment, and what were the tools that you used? You did mention EDGE, but you may want to elaborate a little more on the tool.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Kathy. Actually, for the first engagement, we assess TIRA on age certifications, and it's related to some existing data related to the some focus area that's required by age. And by now, we are going to elaborate the assessment tools, since they also have challenge in recertified age. So we are going to assess them with the GEARS, the Gender Equality Assessment Results and Strategic Tools, that contain with the strategic and policy data, and also some raw data on the data employment and employment movement related to the company. So that's the practice. And currently also they uptake the recommendation of the age, and by now they also develop the monitoring tools related to the increase or strengthening the existing SOP, like the fourth VOP, recruitment selection, career management, equal pay for equivalent work, and training development by their own system. And these tools to monitor the implementation of the procedures that must be reported and evaluated regularly. And they utilize all the data to conduct a performance comparison based on the gender, intangible functional positions, which are formalized by the management. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm now just going to move to a question back to you, Kwan. It's a question about EVN's success in terms of, you started your presentation saying when compared to others in the similar sector, EVN's doing quite well because they had 18% versus, I think you said 10% elsewhere. I just wondered if you could share any success factors you think, why is EVN already doing better than maybe its competitors? I wondered if you had any particular strategies you would like to highlight that they've used.
Thank you, Kathy. So as I share, I got the privilege to work with EVN Genco 3 in the S certificate. So during that certificate, we have been reviewing all of the policy and practice of the companies. So just to answer your questions, Dr. Michelle, for the recruitment, there are two channels that they are leveraging now. First of all is the internal referral. So they have been deploying the scheme like all of the staff inside Genco, EVN Genco 3 or some other entity within the organizations. They will, if they got any good candidates, then they can refer to the companies and have to take into account that the EVN Genco 3 got a very low turnover rate. So people just go work there and then they resign, or they due to they retire or due to some medical problems. Otherwise, they will devote it for EVN Genco 3. And from the external channel, they have take extra step in all of the advertisement. They make it very clear that at EVN Genco 3, it is the place where they value all of the contribution regardless of the gender. So normally for other companies, they just, for them, they also promoting gender equality, but they don't really say it out loud. But for EVN Genco 3, in all of the communication, in all of the external publishing will show clear and fair about the commitment to gender equalities. And EVN Genco 3 also have a very diverse candidate pool. So whenever if they want to recruit any position, they will try to make it more competitive so that they can attract both genders for the position. So they will try to finalize, they will choose the candidate pools with both genders. And lastly, because of the electricity industry, because of the social norms are so heavily impacted on our perception. So we just think that electricity is a technical industry and it's only for males. If you are a woman, and then you should not work in such industry. So the companies have taken extra step by going to different universities, so that they can start their communication just how good they are. And then electricity is not just for male, but also for female. And lastly is that we have to look at the current policies and practice. They have the Department for the Advancement of the Female Staff, and they have the gender composition target, like for the top management, they have to achieve a certain ratio of female and male, just to ensure the very well balance of genders. And then they have different kind of training scheme to provide leadership skill for the female staffs, just to ensure that they will have the increasing presence of the female staff within the organization.
Thank you, Kwan. Thank you. Okay, now turning to Attorney Mary Knoll from PNB. I've got actually a couple of questions for you. Let me start with the first one, which was, what would be one important recommendation that you would give to a company that's about to embark on a similar journey and look at their anti-sexual harassment policies? What would be a recommendation you would give them?
Well, first of all, Miss Kathy, it is very important for the company to come up with a strong policy. This can be traced upon if there is a law that legislated by the national government, whether there is a of the employees. But most of all, I think there should be a strong policy being initiated with a strong political will, because it is really hard to come up with something like, for example, just listen to the complaints of the employees without having to give them a concrete policy. What are the parameters and so far as how do you really define sexual harassment in the workplace? Taking into consideration that in our country, it's not anymore the simple sexual harassment that is being defined by law, but it has been expanded in terms of the cyber sexual harassment and also in the streets. Before, it's just a simple workplace sexual harassment, but now it expanded. And in fact, right now, the offender becomes also not just your boss, but it can also be your peer, or you can also be a subordinate against the superior. So, having this strong policy and strong political will to come up with this kind of mechanism, that is the first thing to do. And thereafter, when there is a strong policy already, there must be a massive dissemination information for the employees to be aware that there is such thing as right to say no and right to whistleblow, to blow the whistle, or to complain. Because if if the company does not really impress the employees that they do not really care, whatever policy or whatever good intention that the officers would like to offer to the employees, everything is futile, and it will not work. Thank you, Kat.
Okay, so a follow-up question then, which asks about the committee on the CODI.
That's the Committee on Decorum and Investigation, CODI.
Yeah. How does the committee ensure the anonymity of both the victim and the offender?
Well, first of all, whenever there is a complaint, usually we ask for the complainant to, as the secretariat of the CODI and as the chairperson of the CODI, we try to ask them to put it in a complaint form, which is unauthorized and all. But there are times really that the anonymity of the complainant cannot be prevented in terms of it can still be disclosed upon when there is a hearing, because usually the offender or the respondent would ask who is the one, because sexual harassment is a personal crime, it's a personal offense. Who is the offended party? What are the personal acts that I've done to her? That's always the question of the respondent. So we will ask the offended party if she is strong enough and courageous to at least disclose in terms of the specific acts that were committed against her. And usually in the 7 cases, these complainants have been already brave and have been inspired by our, constant information and talk and conversation with them, that they are protected, that they cannot be retaliated upon, and the offenders, if it so happened that it's their boss or supervisor, they cannot do anything that will ruin their career or that ruin their family and personal safety. So that's it. For the 7 cases, we try to not to disclose it, but the offended party being the offender, the perpetrator has also the right to know, to confront the offended party. We ask first the offended party if it's all right, if it's fine to be disclosed, since it's a personal act, it's a personal crime. They need also to testify how and the manner of the manner of committing the sexual harassment against them. Okay, it's more of, talking to them if you're brave enough. I mean, if not, we will just, have this virtual hearing separate and not, part of the, they will not be together in a certain hearing, and separate, and as much as possible, not to disclose their identity, but there's no instance that we cannot disclose the identity due to the personal nature of the sexual harassment case.
And I think the last question, which is for you, I think you may have just touched upon there. You talked about a virtual hearing. One of the questions was, because of home working, how has that impacted in any way during COVID, people reporting, or have you had to adjust your mechanisms for dealing with sexual harassment because of COVID?
Thank you, Kathy, for that question. That is a very timely question. Actually, Kathy, to be honest, being the secretariat of the Ethical Standards Committee, the committee that handles, or the committee that or designated to be the disciplining authority, and also the chairperson of the Committee on Decorum and Investigation. With the COVID-19, I almost cried, to be honest, because the adjustment is too much for us. We are just, I have only 2 staff and me as the head of the Industrial Relations Department. And we really have to adjust massively in terms of the ways to hear cases. Through the filing of complaint, it's through email or through the whistleblower hotline and email. And also we try to monitor cases through our virtual record, wherein we can just see if the cases are increasing. More so, when it comes to hearing, sexual harassment cases, as I've always been repeating, is very personal in terms of talking to the offended party, giving them counseling. What are the needs for them to be bold, to be brave in terms of saying everything that happened to them. And virtual hearing is to the touch. But you see, Kathy, what's so good in the virtual hearing, you talk about emotion, you talk about the hurts and pains of the offended party. And even it's a personal hearing and virtual, you can actually see if the soul is suffering, if the soul is really experiencing tremendous pain. And that's one thing. And they would really cry, even it's a virtual one. And they would really, profusely sob and would even say, I should be blamed because of this one and this and that. And that is something that is beautiful, even if it's, pandemic and virtual hearing, and then a little bit the touch kind of hearing, we can still see the true emotion. And that's something that we are very proud of. We try to adjust insofar as being a little bit, techie, yet maintaining the human side of everything. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I'm afraid that we've come to the end of our session. We have a couple more questions which are in the chat, and we will endeavour to respond to those later. It's been really, I think, insightful discussion. I'm sorry that we don't have longer. There is a follow-up email here if you would like to send Joanna at IW any follow-up questions or queries. We will do our best to respond to them. But in the meantime, I want to give a huge thanks to our 4 presenters who have, spent time with us today, and also to thank all of you for joining us. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Monday and a great week.